more than 10,000 hours of practice. The determination and perseverance that didn't listen to naysayers or give in to odds or obstacles. Oh, you'll never make the NHL. Nobody makes the NHL. How many times do you think players hear that who actually make the NHL? If this season at River City Church is tough, and it has been tough, then we presently find ourselves in the perfect environment where superstars get made. Some of you are on your way to becoming superstars, and I believe it. Whatever it is that you and I do during these tough days will one day be history. 10 years from now, this will all be history. Marion and I are sitting next to each other, and Barb announced this was our 8th contributors event, and Marion said, "No way." And she's been to all 8. 10 years from now will be history. Which means that you and I are writing history today. You are a history maker. While the Montreal Canadiens didn't have a stellar season, looking back on the past year, I'm confident that they would be able to identify certain things that they did right, certain things that they could celebrate. So we didn't do this right, so we didn't meet this goal, so this didn't work out the way we'd planned, and you didn't score as many goals as we thought you would, but look at what we did here. And look who we discovered here. And this really worked out better than we thought it would, didn't it? And it's the same for River City Church. We've had setbacks and challenges and disappointments over the past season, but I want to highlight some successes for you right now. A month before we made our move to the Galaxy, I'd encouraged Brian and Pam Noel to visit a neighboring church that's meeting in a movie theater because we had made the decision to go to the Galaxy. And I don't know that anybody in our church had been in a movie theater church other than my wife and I. Maybe a few people had, but I think the majority of us hadn't. And so they went to a friend's church, Rob Stanley. He's the lead pastor of the Village Church, which is in Milton. And they meet at the Galaxy movie theater in Milton. And they've been meeting at the Galaxy since it was built, since its inception. So they've been there for several years, 4 I believe. And Brian and Pam came back and they reported that even though we've done this theater thing less than a year, I think they said this at the 9-month mark or so, our setup is smoother and our overall presentation is better. So Kevin, you and your hard-working setup team have done an outstanding job making this move work for us. We have high praise for you, and we say, way to go. Second, we've had a steady stream of first-time guests to River City Church. You guys don't know this, but I'm in a peer group with 9 other pastors, and we are the envy of them when it comes to getting new people to come on Sunday mornings. I mean, a lot of churches, they don't have a visitor for the whole year, unless it's a relative. We have new faces just about every week. Now, our challenge is to close the back door. Our challenge is to enfold them into community. And I'm going to talk about how we can meet that challenge in just a few moments. But we've had a steady stream of first-time guests since we've been to the movie theater at the Galaxy. And the irony is, as Peter showed you, we've actually had to trim our budget in so many areas. We've done less advertising this past year than we've ever done. We didn't do any postcards or mailings at Easter or Christmas like we've done in previous years. We didn't do any radio ads, no fridge magnets. There's a lot of stuff that we didn't do this year because of necessity. And yet people are coming out. Word is getting out. You know, this theater thing, one of my mentors that I look up to is Bill Hybels. They started meeting in a movie theater in 1975 in Chicago, and it's old hat in the States. They've been doing it for years. But it's pretty radical in Canada. I don't know if we're behind in this regard. I think part of it's the influence of the mainline churches here. People think church has to be in a big, nice, beautiful building. But it's radical, and people are saying, there's a church that meets in the Galaxy movie theater. Can you believe it? No, really? So you guys use that in your places of work and stuff. I think, it's as we heard from Lisa, it's not so threatening to go to church in a movie theater. Right? It's a little less daunting than going into a church that smells like a church. You know the smell, the polished wood. Okay. Someone said mold. That's a low blow. So people are talking, and I think they're talking more than we thought they would be. So that's great. Number 3, when people come out, what do they find? I believe they find one of the most authentic, warmest welcomes a person can find in any church. Nicole, you and your First Impressions team have done an incredible job to not only create a warm welcome in a new space, but to actually take it to the next rung or even 2 rungs. So, way to go. Another trend that we've seen that's new, I think Peter and Pam can attest to this. Usually when newcomers come to our church, and we have some newcomers here tonight, it's 6 months, it's a year, it's 2 years before they even say, I'd like to give, right? And quite a few of the newcomers are asking for envelopes very soon, which is amazing. It's got to be God, because we are very careful to try to create a welcoming environment where we don't put another barrier between them and God by forcing them to feel guilted into giving unless they've got that relationship and they want to give out of gratitude. So this is something that I want to celebrate as well. Number 5, our kids ministry has grown and continues to be one of the biggest growth engines of our church. Barb, you've done an outstanding job creating an outstanding team of committed volunteers. The commitment of this team just blows me away. Brian can attest to this. I asked him to go to a meeting that they had a week ago, I think Monday, and it was an emergency meeting, which is never fun to have. Some of you maybe were there. And the reason for the emergency meeting was that they have 3 teams of volunteers, and so many volunteers had asked for the summer off, right? I like 2 or 3 months off, but they still want to have a program for their kids. But I want 2 or 3 months off. That basically they were faced with the reality that they either close their doors or they ask all their volunteers to increase their volunteering by 50% and going to every 2 weeks instead of every 3rd week. So they had this emergency meeting, and those who came committed to going to a 2-week rotation instead of that 3-week rotation, simply so that the ministry can remain uninterrupted through the summer. More accurately, so that relationships could continue to form. You can't form a relationship with a child if you're never seeing them. And so that kids could learn more about Jesus Christ. So I want to give a hand to our children's ministry. Home groups under Melissa's leadership continue to take new risks. And amongst all the other things we did this year, a major risk that they started was doing a semester system for home groups based on some reading and exposure that Melissa had to churches that were doing that, because what studies have indicated is that when a church starts home groups, small groups, life groups, whatever you want to call them, a lot of people from the church will join initially, but after that you don't see many people, because not everybody's going to want to go in a home group anyway, and it kind of goes like this, and then it plateaus. So how do you get people that have never gone to home group to try it once? And so we did this semester thing, 3 semesters of home groups, and that was a risk that you took, and it paid off, I believe, because people that had never gone to home group before tried it, and maybe they didn't go to all 3 semesters, but they went to at least one, and through that, relationships got deepened, and people learned more about Jesus Christ. So I want to commend you and your team on continuing to take risks. Music at River City has never been better. That's not my opinion. I hear it from people all the time. The band is tight. I don't know what that means. I don't want to know what that means. Greg, with a little help from your friends, you've developed 2 solid music teams. You've adapted our tech to a completely new space. I think we have less feedback now than we did before, and I think that's great. I understand that one of your 2 team bands practice twice a week on the weeks that they're on, which is just awesome commitment on their part, and I understand that a couple of them want to start a youth band in the fall. Woo-hoo! So let's